Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree. On this podcast, we are discussing all of the topics that help us have breakthroughs on our personal and spiritual development journeys. My name is Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a channeler, energy healer, tarot reader, astrologer, and soul alignment coach. My mission in my work and in this podcast is to help teach people how to shift their consciousness, how to heal, and how to release beliefs and patterns and fears of their ego mind so that they can step into alignment with their soul to live lives of abundance, purpose, and bliss. In these episodes, I will be sharing either through my own lens and my own channel or through the experiences of my guest, wisdom and expertise about healing, spirituality, psychology, personal growth, holistic wellness, mysticism, consciousness, and so much more. My hope is that these conversations help you feel seen and provide support and inspiration for you with your own personal breakthroughs. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. I'm so happy you're back this week because this episode is going to be really, really exciting. This episode is all about how you create your reality. I've had a lot of really big ahas, breakthroughs, and new levels of understanding about this as I started my soul series, which has been my social media series where I'm talking about integrating that really big breakthrough I had at that event about living in my soul energy versus my ego energy and how I was kind of straddling between the two before without knowing it. Since I've been really intentionally plugging into that soul place and just sitting and receiving from that frequency, I've had a lot of really big breakthroughs. And one of them was how they showed me how we're creating our reality. Like they showed it to me so I could understand it in a little bit different of a way. And so naturally I come here because I'm so excited to explain to you because this is big. And the moral of the story is that everything that you want comes from you. Every single thing. And I'm going to explain more about how that's the case. Okay, so let me explain where I started with all of this, okay? One of the things that I've been really wanting to deepen my experience of is abundance, okay? And I've had so many versions of breakthroughs and ahas and my understanding of what that even means to want to manifest more abundance over the years that it's been something that's been on my mind, that's been on my heart. And I believe anything that we desire has purpose. It's never in vain. It's never selfish, especially those things of our heart. There's purpose. And even for me, just as an example, me having this goal and having a desire to understand what it could look like to manifest abundance is something that when I let myself learn how to do that, I can then go share and teach people how I do that in case that's a way that works for them too, right? And who knows, maybe you pursuing your own desires and manifestations will become a way that you can help and serve other people too. Just an idea. Okay. So anyway, I've been really focusing on this. And when I first started this process of, desiring more abundance, what that meant to me was a lot of external circumstances looking different than what I had. And when people would say things like, you can tap into abundance now, or everything can feel abundant, or see abundance in everything, there was a part of me that was like, what the heck are you talking about? If my current circumstances were abundant, I wouldn't be wanting these other things. There's some really difficult stuff going on here. What the heck are you even talking about? These people just must be super privileged, always, lived really cushy lives. They, all of the stories, which in hindsight, I can see was my ego. It was me trying to understand that from an ego energy. And my ego was really attached to my stories of lack and of struggle, and also really only thought about getting abundance from an ego strategy, right? So what they were suggesting just didn't mesh. It didn't fit with the way that an ego mind would go about accomplishing a goal, right? Which in hindsight, I can see now, but at the time I was like, what the heck are you people talking about? Okay. And people would say things like, you just got to really feel abundance. And that's how it happens, And then feeling abundance became a to-do list item. Because again, the ego, its strategy is, what do I have to do? What is the plan? What's the to-do list? How do I make it happen? Right? It feels very effortful and a focus on the productivity of it, if I can do manifesting abundance right, then I can get abundance. And that's part of what's on this checklist from what people have told me is to feel abundant. Okay, so how can I feel abundant, right? That was kind of the energy that I was coming out it before because I was just the best that I had, you know? And I think a big thing that made what they were suggesting so hard for me to really understand was that a big motivator of me wanting to create my reality to be something different. And in this example I'm using, it's abundance, which really meant also financial prosperity. Okay, money, because money is one of the substances of abundance. Abundance is the essence, the energy. Money is the substance. So that was like a big part of what I was wanting to manifest, but the intention and the motivation for it was a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of tension around money in my life and my relationship to it. And also what I was making money mean to me. And for me personally, it was safety, right? It was like, when I have money, I don't have to be stressed out about, you know, what we can afford or we can't afford, or feeling limited in things that we can do and we can't do, or, you know, am I going to be able to, you know, pay our mortgage? Am I going to be able to, you know, when we get pregnant and start a family, be able to stay at home or provide for kids? Or like, is that going to feel stressful? Is that going to be a struggle? Like all of that kind of thing. And so money to me at the time, what I learned, how I was conditioned, of course, is that money is the key to feeling that sense of safety or that sense of freedom in the world. And because I had this soul level desire, this soul level inspiration that I could live a life that felt really deeply peaceful and safe, and where I felt a great sense of freedom and abundance and joy and all that kind of stuff, I really felt that that was possible. I had like this dream, this vision of it. I was like, okay, well, like, how do we go about doing that? And again, what I wanted to manifest was sort of like the substance of those energies. And to me, that looked like certain lifestyle things, that looked like money. You know, I had ideas about coming through my business in a certain way. Then the external circumstances that I thought would give me those feelings were what I was trying to manifest. Needless to say, that experience of trying to create that reality that I felt was possible, as having a dream of something, as having a vision of it, proves that it's a possibility. And what I really think is those dreams and visions are us getting little snapshots into the realm of possibilities. Like there's a whole like dimension where there are infinite possibilities. And I really want you to hear that word, infinite, limitless possibilities that are available to us. Okay. Not just the ones that your brain think are likely, are logical, that are according to the laws of nature as we understand them as mere humans. Like, no, like limitless possibilities. Okay. And when we have these dreams and when we imagine and when we have these hopes, even ones that again seem like, oh my gosh, that could never happen. No, like we literally couldn't see it if it didn't exist in this realm of possibility. Okay. So anyway, I have this dream. I see it's possible, but I just didn't understand that it wasn't the circumstance that was doing that for me, or that really what I wanted wasn't the circumstance. What I wanted was the feeling. I wanted to feel like in my body safe, especially around money. I wanted to feel in my body a sense of abundance and abundant, like relating to the things in my life. I wanted to, in my own body, in my own psyche, in my own heart, feel free. Okay. But again, I didn't put two and two together fully. So manifesting was clunky. It was stressful. And again, it felt like this task that I'd given myself and that I was stressing myself out about doing it the right way. Well, if the manifestation isn't coming, I must not be doing it the right way. I got to try harder. I got to learn more. I got to be honest with myself. Am I really doing all the things? And it became this like very stressful and like pressure filled circumstance, especially because what I was wanting to get felt so deeply important, you know, and so tied to something as primal as safety. And of course, because there was a lot of stress and pressure, and there just like was so many things like on it attached to it, you know, I became really attached to it, even though I was trying really hard not to, because that was one of the things on the to-do list, is that you're supposed to detach from your manifestation. I was trying to detach, and I had this funny thing I was doing where I was like, yes, it can happen at any time in any way, but as long as it happens by this date, because I got to pay the bills by this date, you know, like it's got to come through by this date, but like how it comes through, whatever, but like it's got to come through on this date, you know? So I was like quasi having faith. But again, to me, it's so funny. I can look back at that now and see that I knew that I needed to like have faith and let it go. But I was trying to do that soul inspired way of going about it in an ego way by saying, but it's got to be by this, because human, you know, paying bills, all this kind of stuff, you know, material safety, like XYZ, which I'm not saying is not important, by the way. I'll keep going with it. But I could see that was like an ego strategy to do a soul thing. So of course it wasn't working. All of that came to a head. It kind of fell apart, and I fell apart with it, and, you know, was able to see it all and kind of come back together. And it was beautiful and perfect, even just for the fact that I get to come and explain it to you, and maybe it's illuminating to you. But I just really want to paint the picture of what I had thought creating my reality was. I thought that it was a vision and then a series of actions. And if I can just make the right actions, then I'll somehow land up in the timeline where all of it happens. And when that didn't happen, or when I was doing all the things I genuinely thought I was supposed to do, I was trying so freaking hard and that wasn't happening. It left me feeling so disillusioned. It made me feel so dejected. It made me feel mad. It made me feel upset. Like it was dark. Okay. But again, I think that it's so beautiful when moments like that happen, because what I was building all of that up on wasn't true and it was never going to work. And the only way that I was ever going to find what really was going to work is if I let that fall apart, if I let that break apart. And because I was attaching so much onto it, I had to fall apart a little bit too, right? I was being a little stubborn. What? Virgo? Me being a little stubborn? Never. Yes, there was a pattern in me, I should say, that was being a little bit stubborn about the whole thing. And again, all with purpose, and it's totally fine. But I really want to be really honest and transparent about how I was looking at it, so that as I describe how I'm looking at it different, maybe that helps you understand the difference. The contrast in the two helps you also understand, so that, maybe if it feels true and it feels right to you, you can even try to implement this new understanding about how we are affecting our physical reality, our external circumstances, and therefore like really creating our experience and creating our reality. Okay, so let's talk about the rework, the reframe here. I was broken open, seeing all the ways that what I was thinking didn't really hold up. I wasn't really having faith, right? Like I wasn't really detached, and I was making things contingent on external circumstances, even when I had come to learn that what I really wanted was a feeling, but I still was feeling this like attachment, but no, it's really got to look like this, I was seeing the contradiction in my own self after that all kind of fell apart, it fell open, and I'm like, okay. And I just, for weeks, was just in an energy of, okay, I know that wasn't working, and I can see how that wasn't working, and I might not totally understand how it does work, but I am grateful to not be so committed to something that was a lie, and I'm now open to receive and understand like what the truth is, right? And I just want to describe that because that can happen very often, and it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong if it feels like there's a little bit of a limbo between you just knowing what's not true before you really find yourself understanding what does feel like the truth and the way forward that happens. Okay, and everything is still going perfectly according to plan. So then I went to this event, the big one that I did episode 48 about. If you've not listened to that, you've got to go listen to that. It is sensational. Me breaking down this whole like living from the soul energy versus the ego energy, and how, that really big takeaway and other parts of it I describe in more detail. So I very highly recommend you listening to that episode. But at that event, particularly, Dr. Kim Duramo did a talk, and I've talked about her multiple times in the last couple episodes. She rocks. Okay. She was doing a talk about how our field works, like our body and our field. And she was a medical doctor, an ER doctor. And she was talking about when she was in medical school, she had a friend that she studied with that studied something like chemical quantum physics or something. Like it was like a biochemical quantum something. Okay. And how by her working with him and asking him questions, she got to understand like quantum physics, even on like a biological level, like really deeply. And that aligned with her and a big download she had as a teenager about how our health works and how we can access deeper levels of healing that sort of defy, the physical laws, so to speak. And it was that background that came into her perspective and how she taught this. And I'm going to like make this super simple, I promise, but understanding this was what broke open this new way that I now see that we create our reality. So the first thing that she showed us is that and she explained this in terms of health, like when we're trying to address our health and our health symptoms, there are different like modalities and tools that happen at all of the different levels of matter, essentially. Okay. So in the physical world, like it is made up of matter, things that we could touch, like the physical. Okay. So there's like the physical, like body, let's just say, okay. A body I can see, I can touch, I can smell, etc., existing in the 3D world, it's three-dimensional. When you look at a body and its smaller piece, its next level of small is our cells. The next level of small after that, so what the cells are made up of are molecules. And then when you go the next level smaller, then we're looking at atoms. Atoms make up molecules. And then when physicists even go smaller than atoms, they see subatomic particles. Okay, we're 5 levels deep into like what makes up physical matter that we see. And those subatomic particles are the world of the quantum. That is like when they're talking about quantum physics, they're studying subatomic particles, and those are the magic. Okay. And I'll just say too, her talk was really cool about how the different levels of medicine and healing treat us at all of those different levels of matter, essentially. I'm trying to remember what they were, but like surgery, for example, is treating it on like the physical level, and nutrition is treating it at the molecular level, and I think pharmaceuticals treats it at the molecular and sort of like chemical level. I think on the atomic one it was acupuncture, and then on the subatomic level it was EFT tapping, and there were some other ones, but again, she was like describing how there are different levels of treating health on when you're still within the world of the known, right? Even us being able to define subatomic particles means that we know it, right? And her whole point of her talk is that where we access the greatest healing is when we tap into the unknown, and the unknown is our soul, the unknown is source, the unknown is God. And we are these miraculous like bodies, and we're these miraculous souls that have the ability to register energetic information, both in our electromagnetic field as well as in our bodies, that alter reality. So again, to just make this really simple, she did a diagram, and you can look this up really easily too, about how particularly from our heart space, we radiate out energy like feet outside of our field, right? And we have a very strong electromagnetic field that radiates out not only the full length and width of our body, but wider. And this field is communicating on an energetic level. And not only is it communicating to everything outside of us and in our space, but it's also communicating to the cells of our body. And our cells on that really small level, on that subatomic level, are responding to that energy. And then it's almost like a domino falls after that. When the subatomic particles are impacted on that very small level, it shifts. And then it's like a domino that everything down the rest of the line on the atomic, the molecular, the cellular, and then the physical, things start to change as well. And her talk was about how we can access life force energy and health energy from that unknown space, from that God energy, from that source energy. And even us just doing a simple meditation of like letting our attention, which is a really important tool in all of this, letting our attention focus and have that intention of connecting with our source and soul energy, connecting with the unknown. Of course, our ego can't really quantify and know that, but we can still set that intention. And just from that, our body and our field starts to register information from the unknown. In the same way I think I described in another episode, like if I, set my intention and attention to my dog, and my field automatically starts registering information from my dog. Like that is how connected we are on an energetic, and how powerful our minds are at the energy that we pull into our body and then that we begin to radiate. So her talk was like, we should absolutely, when we're talking about healing, be connecting with that unknown energy that is more powerful and influential over our experience than even those subatomic particles, because it can influence those in a way that is even more intelligent and complex and miraculous than us even trying to work only at that subatomic level. And what's really beautiful when we're connected to that energy is that our intuition has the ability to also interpret messages that can further aid in whatever our goal is when we're connecting with that energy. So again, for her, from a health perspective, if it's, that we want to achieve a certain level of health and balance or whatever in our body, one, we receive the energy, we let it run through the currents of our body, we let it run through our electromagnetic field, letting that communicate to our cells and start to create those domino effects of change in our physical body. But then we also get intuitive feelings, like maybe all of a sudden we have an inspiration to look up a certain kind of doctor, or we feel a craving to eat a certain kind of food, or all of a sudden you feel excited about getting in a certain kind of movement, or you start sleeping better, or you have the feeling to kind of drop a habit that's not helping you sleep, or, like we start getting all of these like inspiration moments, these inspired actions that come from connecting with that soul place, that are the actions that also aid that energy in helping manifest in the physical world the original intention that we set, which is health. All of that is spectacular. Again, she has a book on that. She has a YouTube channel. Like, I highly recommend looking into her work. But I was really thinking about this even past our health when it comes to us wanting to manifest things like abundance in our lives. It first started with me connecting that concept she had, but specifically with the frequency of abundance. Okay. Something about her explaining it that way, and that the energy is running through the currents of our body and is being radiated all the way. It's like being circulated through our field, right? And we're sitting in our fields, in our physical body, registering the sensations of what that feels like when that energy is literally being circulated both through our electromagnetic fields and then through our physical body as a result. And I was like, wait a minute, like, have I even really experienced the energy of abundance before? Have I let myself open up and receive that energy? Just setting that intention, maybe imagining my crown chakra opening up and just letting that come through, and then just observing what that even feels like. So that's what I started doing. And especially in the early days of the Soul Series, I was like really focused on that. And I still am, but like that felt kind of new. So I really just started sitting in, like, what does it feel like in my body when I close my eyes and I open myself up to the energetic frequency of what I desire? You know, the thought of having an abundance of prosperity and money and, you know, whatever material things, blah, 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 that inspired the idea of abundance is great. But really, again, it inspired and helped me connect to the fact that I wanted to feel more abundance, which again was that I wanted to vibrate at the frequency of abundance and have that experience of what it's like when that current of energy is running through my body, when I am being in the frequency of abundance. That's really what I was desiring. And I was like, cool, okay, so like, what does that feel like? Because really I can just do that right now. And maybe I just wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't really observing. I wasn't really being in the energy because I was so preoccupied with the thought that I couldn't really feel it until my world started to look different. But again, with this talk, it kind of shifted things. It opened me up. I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on. And when I sat in that space, it was very pleasant types of sensations in my body. Of course, I did have some fears and some ego stuff come up that needed to get moved. That is just a part of the process. And I've talked about that in episode 48. I'm going to do more episodes on that process specifically. So of course those things came up as I usually do. But when I was being in that energy, it felt really, really nice. It felt light. And there was like a certain energy of like blissfulness. And I could see why people associate gratitude really closely with abundance, because it was like this gush of feeling like a reverence for everything. And so in this like reverent feeling of like, wow, like everything is so special, like everything is so cool, like in that energy, the more time I spent in that, not only was I feeling great, and I genuinely feeling like, wow, like my life and this earth and all this stuff is really freaking cool, right? And then I started having some downloads. So here I am in my life being my little corny self that I love, like looking at like a spoon that I was eating with and being like, this spoon, it's so abundant. Like the fact that we have a whole eating utensil that's popularly circulated, like most people have these, okay? That I get to like eat my food more conveniently with, that makes it easier for me to consume this delicious food that is just at my fingertips, that the earth grows for us in abundance, that there's a whole industry of people dedicated to growing and then getting it to our homes or to our grocery stores to get it to our homes. Like, and then I got a spoon on, like, wow, like this spoon is so abundant. Like that was the level of like reverence I was feeling for everything. Like I'm getting in the shower, I'm like, the fact that we have these devices that like bring water straight into a private little room that's equipped for the water so like it can still stay clean and all that kind of stuff, and it's warm water, and I get to just be in this private little bubble and having like an abundance of warm water washing over me to create a feeling of like that is so abundant. Like if that's not the universe like working for me, I don't know what the heck is. And feeling again like this sense of like deep gratitude and just like appreciating how cool everything is, right? And then then one day I went and had a car wash. And again, I had spent that time in meditation that morning, connecting to that feeling of abundance, like bringing that in through my body and really trying to stay present in that experience, continuing to be in that energy. So I was feeling great. I'm driving into this car wash, and again, feels like the most abundant thing in the world, that they have, like that there are machines and all of this stuff where I just sit in I'm not even driving. The car's in neutral. Like I'm just sitting in my car and my car is being washed for me. Like what the heck? Like again, if that is not abundance, I was like, I don't know what the heck is, right? But then I had this really cool thought that coincided with this really big, like channeled breakthrough that I had about this, was that there are so many people that drive through the same car washes me and would never experience abundance. They wouldn't, because they were not open to it. They would have all these stories of their ego that, it's annoying that they have to go to the drive-through, or that they're mad that they had to pay the amount that they did because they feel in lack, and that was something that they lost, and they're in that state as they're going through the drive-through. Or maybe they're feeling stressed about something else and they're not even really present to what's happening, and they're not even registering anything about the car wash, right? Like, there are so many people who would technically be experiencing the same external circumstances of me, but having a completely different experience with it, okay? And that the reason why I was able to go through that car wash and feel abundant was because I had been opening myself up to actually receive the energy of abundance, and therefore the experience of abundance in my body, which then allowed me to relate to things in my outside world in an abundant way. It allowed me to see abundance in literally everything. And this brings me to how we create our reality, okay? And a really big paradigm shift I think is so important to have is that our external circumstances that our ego brain has told us, has made connections with, right? Because that's really what's happening is that let's just say they think being able to have a private chef is abundant, let's just say, right? There's all these reasons why the ego mind has made this association. It's made this connection, right? Because if you're able to afford that, that's this luxury expense, et cetera, right? So in that moment, because the ego brain has made a connection between, it's labeled this certain kind of experience as one that is abundant, it's put that label on it, then your ego mind allows you, it opens up the door, it gives you the green light to then be able to set that intention of receiving abundant energy and feeling abundant by that, right? The ego's gatekeeping you feeling abundant based on its beliefs and its judgments about what is abundant and what is not. But really what's going on is that you have the ability to bring an abundant experience into your body energetically at literally any time, and being filled with that, just being in the presence of that energy changes how you relate to the world around you. And then you literally experience abundance with any single thing, regardless of what your ego has labeled as abundant or not abundant. And then I had this really cool realization with the guides. And basically kind of what they told me, I say in quotations, is that all of these things that you look at and you think, oh my gosh, that's abundant. It's they become little reflective surfaces reflecting back that energy that you're putting out right back to you. So it feels like it kind of expands or magnifies the experience and the energy of you. And again, this can happen technically in any situation. Let's just say, I have a limiting, which is what it really is, a limiting belief that, having a really fancy car is what abundance is, right? And so when I go drive an old car, my ego's nope, this isn't abundant, right? So I'm not feeling that way when I'm in that car. But when I go step into, the Tesla or whatever the nice car is that my ego said is abundant, then I open myself up and that Tesla becomes a reflection of my own feeling of abundance. The Tesla becomes a little reflective surface, reflecting back to me the abundant energy I finally let myself experience because my ego has said, yep, that's abundant. You have a green light. You can do that now. It was never the Tesla that was generating the feeling of abundance. It was me, my field. Again, the energy moving through the currents of my body and then affecting how I'm perceiving and experiencing the world around me. I'm the one that's generating the feeling. And the external thing is only reflecting that energy straight back to me. It is not generating it. It is not generating it. That was such a big breakthrough for me. I was like, holy guacamole. Even with something like beauty, right? If I am in a state of beauty, if I'm receiving the energy of appreciating beautiful things, I look around me and the things that I see that are beautiful are just reflecting back to me and magnifying my experience, me being in the energy and observing the sensations and what it's like to be in that energy. It's reflecting it back to me so it feels bigger. So of course I'm like, oh my gosh, everything's more and more beautiful. That tree, this thing, that picture, it's all beautiful, And so I feel like that's part of what gets tricky for us is in that way that our external reality can reflect our own energy back to us. Our ego has been mistaken in thinking that the outside world is what generates the energy for us to be able to feel in the first place. And that could not be further from the truth. It could not be further from the truth. It is a lie. It is a misguided lie from the ego, understanding the world in its 3D ways that it does and being limited by that. And to really bring this full circle and how you create your reality, first of all, again, It's important that we acknowledge that when we have, this dream or desire of some external circumstance, the reason why that is attractive to us is because the way that we think we will feel when we are in the presence of that external circumstance. The most important part of that is, again, how we feel, which is why so many people who are, manifestation coaches or experts or whatever really guide you to connect with how does it feel when you have that thing. Okay, that is really valuable information. But for us to get to a place where we are changing the physical world around us, where we are changing our reality, is not by this 3D strategy of let me do and get the right thing and, series of events and then it's here, then I'm in the timeline. No. How we're actually creating our reality is by the frequency that we are emanating in our electromagnetic fields and the state of energy that we are residing in. We send off such powerful signals to the physical matter around us based on the energy that we are emitting. Even again, if you getting into quantum physics, and by the way, I'm reading a book about this and I'm loving it. I'm nerding out about it so much. So when I finish it, I'm definitely going to be doing an episode on breaking down quantum physics for even the least scientific person. Okay. But essentially our attention and our vibration is affecting matter around us at that subatomic level. That subatomic level is again, the domino that falls that affects every other level of matter until it's actually changed the physical form of it. And again, there's so many really cool studies about how unique these subatomic particles are and how flexible they are to change. And the really cool thing about them is they can either be a particle form or they can be a wave and frequency form, at any given time. They can change shape. They can synchronize with other subatomic particles after them. They don't follow the rules that physicists thought that they should follow. And it's magnificent. So these magical, very influential subatomic particles are responding to your energetic frequency. They're responding to the amazing tool that is your mind all of the time. All of the time. And in this book I'm reading, which is basically proposing that all of this is like a hologram, this whole reality based on our experiences that builds our expectations and our beliefs about what should be around us, that our expectations and beliefs and our thoughts is what all of this physical world is responding to. So on a subatomic level, reality is shifting, is morphing itself to down the line show up in your physical senses as whatever physical circumstances you have based on what you expect it to be. Crazy stuff, okay? But I'll just say for now, again, your beliefs, your attention, and the frequency that you are vibrating at is literally changing the physical world around you all of the time. All of the time. So when we talk about how we can create our reality, that is why it is so important to create that paradigm shift, that it is not any external thing that is making you feel or giving you anything, that what you even see the outside world as is only ever a projection and a reflection of the state of being that you are in. Because again, I could look at and have an experience in that car wash that is completely different than another person having that exact same car wash. Our experience of what that is, even just on a perception level, and therefore on an experience and like embodied level, it could be completely different. So even just again on like how we're experiencing and perceiving things, but by me holding that vibration of abundance, I start to attract ideas that would help me generate a world of abundance. I start to be a magnet for abundant circumstances. And you better believe I've had some really big manifestations tied to abundance and tied to those, physical and like material, again, manifestations of what I thought abundance would look like in my life already start to happen by me intentionally letting myself finally receive that abundant energy that was always available to me. My soul is source, and it is all of those positive energies that we could possibly ever list. It has all of them in its frequency. And I can pull out like a little thread. Okay, what does abundance feel like? Okay, what does joy feel like? What does safety feel like? What does love feel like? Right? Like I can set the intention to specifically experience any one of those and work with those. And like what lessons does it have to teach me? And how does it want to guide me? Like when I let abundance move through me, like how am I inspired to act in the world, right? When we are in the state of being, that is that feeling that we want, not only are we getting to experience what we want, again, energetically and emotionally, which is what we wanted anyway, but the physical world at its like smallest level is starting to respond to us and starting to change. Crazy. I know. So what I will leave you with is one, I would maybe revisit some of your manifestations. And if you've not already really clearly identified or articulated what those exact emotions and energetic frequencies that you're associating that external circumstance with feeling, if you've not already like really defined those, I would. That's going to be so helpful. And you can literally go sit in meditation as soon as you pause this episode and invite your soul energy to run through your body, and then invite the experience of that emotion and just sit in it, just be in it. How does it feel to be in this? Is there fear that needs to come up and be let go? Is there pain? Is there grief? Is there shame? Is there energy in my body that is too dense or creating some sort of block from me receiving this energy even more fully? Right? That's keeping my channel sort of restricted, and that when I can let it go, my channel expands and I can receive and feel more of it. What happens when you just let yourself be in that energy? What do you learn? How do you feel? How do you start to look at the world differently when you consistently and intentionally make that choice in any given moment in the present to connect with and be in that energy? And honestly, I feel like a lot of people's manifestations will probably come in really quick, because I feel like our manifestations are always like waiting to rush in, and they're just kind of like waiting for us to open up to them, you know? Like, what starts to change for you? Because the external reality are only ever little reflective mirrors. And if we're not radiating that energy, it's never going to amplify that experience back to us. It's never going to feel or be the way that we wanted it to be if we are not that thing ourselves, if we are not emanating that energy from our field, from our heart, and from our body. So I would play around with that. And I think what's so beautiful about it all too is that with this way, we can be so much more relaxed. Like, we don't have to have the plan of how we get to A to Z. Like, literally all I have to do with this is I got to sit my little self down. I got to come in the present moment, connect with my soul, which is instinctual to us, really. And whatever specific experience I might want to call in, I literally just call in and then sit back and relax, receive it, observe it. And if there is action for me to take, my soul tells me. I get that inspired action. I get that feeling. I get that intuitive hit. Just like in my soul series, I talked about all of a sudden having like, oh shit, I could do EFT tapping. Like, oh, this fear that's felt kind of tricky and like it's not really releasing fully. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. All of a sudden I get this inspired. Oh yeah, I forgot about EFT tapping. Wait, that would be perfect, right? And then inspired action, right? And again, it can be something unrelated. It can be something related. But then like anything that I might actually need to take action on gets shown to me at that time. I don't have to know how it connects. I don't have to know how it creates a domino. I just know that it will. I absolutely know that it will. It is inevitable that it will, because I'm literally being in that frequency. So any action I take in that frequency is only going to get me more of that frequency, of course. And I just get to be along for the ride. And while I'm along for the ride, I'm feeling the way that I wanted to feel anyway, you know? And like I mentioned with this whole abundance thing on my personal thing, is I had so much fear underneath my desire for abundance. So what's been so beautiful, and that I didn't even realize was really possible, is that I am releasing so much fear. That's what I really wanted. I wanted to not feel so terrified and afraid. And I didn't even know how often I was feeling terrified and afraid. I didn't even realize that there were so many possibilities that my mind was coming up with that was keeping me in a state of like low-key panic. Crazy. That's what I didn't want to feel. And I thought the $1 million or this would that would mean that the panic and the fear would go away. But that would have never gone away if I didn't work through it myself, if I didn't process it, if I didn't alchemize it. And so what being in this abundant energy is giving me, through that intention and through me just being open to it and letting it flow through me, is it's guiding me exactly on my path. And for my path, it's letting go of this fear, like literally out of my body, like letting it leach out of my body, out of my beliefs, out of my thoughts. And I'm like, oh crap, like this is how I wanted to feel. I can feel it now. Whoa. Like, that's crazy. I can feel a sense of safety and peace, like all the time, regardless of what's in the bank account or my ego's level of confidence about like how that's going to get. Like, I can feel that same deep peace that I thought I could only feel if I had years and years worth of bills paid for. Like, what? It's crazy. Then along the whole way, I get to feel that way anyway. I'm not missing out on anything, you know? And I'm actually being shown ways that I can experience that was bigger than what I could dream of it. Because again, I'm turning inward and really understanding that it is about the experience of it. So this has been my little share about how we really create our reality. And I hope that this was really big for you too. This is like a really exciting type of breakthrough and really empowering. if you have questions about it, please send me a DM, send me an email. I would love to nerd out about this with you. If you are feeling like you need a little bit of support and maybe, letting that soul energy flow through you and really receiving those messages and letting them, flow through you through inspired action, or that piece of moving through fears and inevitable patterns and things that come through and learning how to alchemize that. If those are things that you feel really excited or motivated to learn more about, that is what I do in my one-on-one coaching. And I am going to be having an online course where it's like a self-paced digital course where I teach about my approach to all of this. Of course, that's different than getting one-on-one work where we can really move through your unique blocks and really get to the root and make sure that you get to a good spot. But all of the information in this digital course is the concepts of what I use. And I'm going to be including tools and resources that you can use to really start to anchor in the knowledge that the modules give you. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would check out either my show notes or healingwithbrie.net, because it very well might be live by this time. But any digital product that I offer, you'll be able to get to through my website, healingwithbrie.net. And it is so abundant that spirit, my soul, has motivated me, has inspired me to be able to offer this kind of knowledge that empowers us to let the light of our soul just shine through us, to learn how to live in the experience of our soul energy, right? There can be so many options that I can bring this to you. I can bring it to you in that intensive one-on-one work so you can really, really bust through and create a lot of transformation in a short amount of time. But I can also provide it to you in a way that is convenient for you, that helps give you some of the fundamentals and helps get you started, because I'm not trying to gatekeep this. I would love anybody and everybody that could benefit from this to be able to have it and learn it and have them support it. So I feel really excited to be able to offer it to you in this other form that will be at a lower price point, making that accessible to different people in a different way than the coaching. And it's all really exciting. So let me know if you have any questions on any of that. I was so excited to chat with you guys here today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time for more breakthroughs. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode and for tuning in to Breakthroughs with Brie. Please share your favorite episodes with your friends and loved ones, and please subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, as it helps me continue to create these episodes to help support your breakthroughs. I would love to stay connected with you, so please follow me on social media at Healing with Brie. Please check out my website at healingwithbrie.net, which will always have the most up-to-date information about the services that I'm currently offering. And please consider using the link in the show descriptions to subscribe to my email list so you can be the first to hear about any offerings. You can get all of the free resources that I offer, as well as get my weekly channeled messages. My deepest love and gratitude to you, and I can't wait to have more breakthroughs with you next week.